So it's Saturday night, you lucky people, and you've got four of Talk's mightiest personalities back in one room, and the big question is, what could possibly go wrong? Well, this is Clash the Titans. Roll the titles! Welcome. So it is Clash of the Titans. My name's Jeremy Kell. This is Julia Hartley-Brewer. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Happy?
Always happy.
Working
I'm
on a
sitting in here with these lovely, lovely colleagues of mine.
And me.
And, crucially, wine.
Well, just take a sip, because people don't believe that you drink.
Yeah.
I do. I believe that.
As I've said to my husband on many occasions, I can't do this life sober.
No, exactly right.
That's true. And neither can the listeners. Michael's here. Kev is here as well. How are we?
Good
Everybody
evening.
all right?
Yeah, very well.
Very good.
Another great week. Loads to talk about.
Yeah.
Everybody brings a story. That's what Clash of the Titans is about. I want to talk about a man who, I know you're not very keen on this, is my political hero, increasingly so, as the Labour Party disintegrates on a daily basis. I mean, disintegrates. Yeah. Boris Johnson, with typical verve, this week has released the information that his big autobiography, Unleashed, is October the 10th. Some extraordinary stuff came out this week, right in the middle of the Tory party conference, which is about as exciting as eating, I don't know, something that you hate, couscous or something. I don't know. I mean, quinoa.
Yeah.
He created
Still can't
quinoa.
spell it.
Yeah.
He said that coronavirus was man-made.
Yeah.
He rode back on apologising for Partygate. Look at her face. Most of all, what I loved was, I wish I could do an impression, and I thought I might actually invade Holland because they nicked our vaccines, and I thought we better go there, and I was going to send in the SAS. Whatever you think about this man, does it not make you wish that he was still on the stage with the boring, miserable drudgery that is British politics?
No.
Come
No.
on.
I think, all right, I'm going to give
green
you...
ball.
I'm going
to
to give you somewhere in the middle. There should be somewhere we can put him, you know, so that we can kind
I've got a
of
few
be
ideas.
entertained by him, right?
Yeah.
I don't really want him to be running the country again.
No, I don't
Because I
think-
agree with
Do you know
Kevin.
what I do? I
it's
put him
too-
in his house, only allowed out 1 hour a day,
Which
wearing
house,
a
though?
mask, never allowed to walk
Yeah.
in a park, not allowed to see any of his family, and see how he likes.
Can I make a point, actually? And I'm not defending him, because coronavirus and COVID and all that was horrendous for so many people, and I've said my bit on it. But judging by what we've seen in the last 13 weeks, can any of you imagine what the hell it would have been like
my
if this
God.
shower,
I know.
not sticking up for Boris Johnson, had been in charge during
We'd
COVID?
still be in lockdown
Yeah.
now, all the way
Yeah.
from 2020.
Yeah.
Exactly. My favourite
extraordinary.
revelation in the book was that he had foisted upon him Prince Harry. Prince Harry was sent
man-to-man
to
chat.
see
Yeah.
Boris Johnson for advice on women, which is like going to Vladimir Putin for advice on world peace. Absolutely.
He got £500,000 in advance. The book's going to be 30 quid.
Yeah.
He's launching it on the 10th. Actually, I've been invited. It's at the Cheltenham. It's at Cheltenham Race.
Funnily enough, not on his invite list, and
Are
I'm
you
obviously
really?
in tears about that.
Yeah.
I have to say.
What about being my plus one?
I'm sure that would be quite
Why don't
fun.
you just come as my
That would
plus
be
one?
quite
Let's just
fun.
go. I'll turn up with JHB.
Most women do turn down the plus one from Jeremy Kyle for obvious reasons. But this,
I've had 3 wives. They haven't all turned me down.
Three.
Yeah.
we'll say eventually.
Why would you say that?
No, you know I don't mean
Just touching me again inappropriately.
That's
it.
inappropriate.
HR.
Look out, Julia. He'll marry
Think
you.
about Boris
I know
Johnson.
what he's like.
He's saying a lot of things, and this is what he does. This
Yeah.
is the equivalent of, Brexit, writing 2 articles. Shall I support Brexit? Shall I not?
Yeah.
In the Brexit campaign back in 2016. And the same as like the COVID. Oh, well, I did agree with it. All these crazy rules about whether you had to be eating a Scotch egg, whether you could stand up or sit down in a pub, these tier restrictions. And he constantly says, like, oh, well, they were all saying this. I always thought it was mad. Does he not understand? He was Prime Minister.
Exactly right.
Completely agree.
You have
Couldn't agree
advisors
more.
to advise,
Yeah.
and then you have and servants to be your civil servants to be your servants. You are the person who has
Totally.
got yourself elected to be the person who makes the decision.
Even the
Utterly
close. Even the
infuriating.
And I was on his
He
side. I
allowed
really
himself-
supported him early in
he didn't
2020.
put-
I really did. But
His view, he didn't put his viewpoint
No.
into the discussion
I
at all.
spoke- I
He
spoke to
allowed
somebody this
himself as
week.
Prime Minister to be told what to do. by
I
Chris
spoke to
Whitty.
somebody this week. I
Ridiculous.
actually wouldn't. I wouldn't say who this was. Very close to Boris
Who was
Johnson,
it?
who said, "I'm not telling you." And this
Harry.
person said, essentially, brilliant, great communicator, great orator, lazy. And would literally,
Lazy,
if somebody
lazy.
would come in and
Well,
say,
he didn't read
"Shall
any-
I do that?" Just
he
wouldn't read the
famously-
He didn't do
brief.
He famously
detail.
didn't read the red boxes, did he? And
Yeah, of course
also, he could have done different things, because
Yeah.
when he was in trouble right at the end, he suddenly lifted all the restrictions. Because I remember standing somewhere and suddenly they were all gone, literally.
But can
in
I bring
in
it
a puff
on?
of
The
smoke.
re-
Saved Christmas.
The
though,
reason,
wasn't it?
the reason
yeah.
the reason I wanted to say this was his book has overshadowed quite possibly the political unhighlight of the year, the Tory party conference, where Robert Jenrick, who's turned from a sort of central One Nation Tory to far right.
It's not far right.
I knew I'd say that. There you go. Kemi Badenoch, who does this sound like, could start a fight with herself in a phone box.
Well, I mean, there are people like that.
Evening, Jules.
Yeah, there are people like that.
James Cleverly, who says I'd bring back Rwanda, and Tom Tugan, I hope, is the biggest disappointment
Everyone's
I've ever
now
seen.
talking James Cleverly up,
I think
because apparently he made a
minute.
good speech today, and maybe he's the one that jumps over the other two.
There's a lot in that. Yeah, Tom Tugendhat is in sort of fourth place trailing. The question is when the next candidate gets knocked out.
Yeah.
The two candidates get knocked out, two different votes. So where those votes go, they get down to the final two. What is extraordinary, actually,
Does anybody care?
No.
Well, the thing is,
Not really.
now, this is it. I say every day on my show, I go like, oh, here we go, Tory party conference, Peter Caldwell's gone, so we don't have to, taking one for the team. It does actually matter because you only get a good government.
Sorry. That's absolutely my favourite.
You only get a good government if you've got a good opposition. We need to have... it's in all our interests. Look, I hold no candle for Keir Starmer. My God, I think the man is totally equipped to be Prime Minister. However, actually, do we want our country to be completely ruined by Labour? Actually, I don't.
No.
I want to have a strong government that can then have a strong opposition, and we can hold them to account, but also offer other good ideas.
Yeah, but I just think the Tory party are finished. I mean, I really don't see them.
You think it's
I don't think they can recover.
They don't have They sometimes seem to think that they've got some sort of God-given right to be the party in power.
They will say, because of our history and how long we've been around, we will reinvent ourselves and reinvigorate.
Yeah, but there's not very many of them.
I think reforms are a really interesting point, right? And the other thing that this person said to me the other night was. They were talking about reform and saying that I'm close to. I think reform's good. What are your policies on the NHS? What are your policies on education? You better ask Nigel. What happens if Nigel Farage gets bored, doesn't get interested? Can reform become a major political player? We know from our shows every day, thousands of people say we believe in reform, but maybe they need to.
Look at the numbers of people who voted for them, right?
Yeah, 4 million.
And that was kind of a last-minute election. That was before they really had a chance to form themselves into something proper, which is what they're now trying to do. And I think certainly if Labour lasts 5 years, I'm not sure they will, but if they do, I think Reform is a much bigger and much better organisation. They've got better candidates, and maybe they even take some of the Tory candidates off the Tories.
My point of bringing the story was that Boris Johnson's unleashed memoir, whatever you think about him or the book, created and garnered more interest than the Tory party.
In his
Boris's book.
Kevin, where do you think Reform have got?
Well, listen, there is a feeling that this battle for the leadership of the Tory party is like a fight for the captaincy of the Titanic. Does it in the end matter?
Yeah.
But if Reform UK are to steal, and there's a chance they could do it, they've got to really get their act together. They could steal the Tories' mantle, but they've got to be about something.
Absolutely.
All they are right now is a reactive party. Yeah. The migration crisis is bad. This is bad. This is.
We haven't heard any detail. I'm being shouted at. Julia Hartley-Brewer, the stage is yours in your lovely shoes. Go.
Well, what I want to talk about is obviously the biggest story of the week. It's overshadowed all of this, and that is what's going on in the Middle East. So many people warning of, are we into World War III? What do we do? What do we do? But the thing that I just find extraordinary is still the debate that goes on in the whole of the Western world, but particularly, it would appear at the BBC, American politics, the Democrats and the Labour Party, this debate over who do we really back? And I just find the idea that anybody in Western civilization in 2024 should be in any quandary of do I back the mullahs who fund and supply weapons to terrorists who massacre and mutilate
these Hamas guys?
Do I support the mullahs who will imprison and torture and even execute a girl for showing her hair? Do I support them, or do I support the only democracy in the Middle East, our ally? I find it extraordinary, and that's not to say that everything Israel does is perfect, or that Netanyahu is perfect, or every IDF soldier. But I just find it extraordinary. The number of people who say, "Well, I support Israel's right to exist and their right to defend themselves," but not anything they actually do to ensure that.
Last night we were on air. Of course, it's a year, isn't it? October the 7th, very soon, since those atrocities, right? Was on air, and somebody brought me a clip from the BBC. I wouldn't begin to even know. I think you saw it as what the name of this reporter was. And he said that this is another example in the last 12 months of Israel not playing by the rule book. And he literally said on the BBC, let's be honest, Iran and Hezbollah and Hamas have played by the rule book. And I thought, hold on a second, just like you.
Ridiculous.
It's a democratically elected government against a bunch of terrorist proxies funded by mad mullahs in Iran, and something has to give. I utterly defend Israel, who's being... I don't like the sights in Gaza, and I'm stupid. Nothing ever gets done, and people complain.
We've got a huge problem. We've got a huge problem with the BBC.
Dreadful.
I mean, it is. I'd say it's institutionally anti-Semitic.
Yes, I think we're at that point.
You're talking about
agree.
an academic who went on last night and said
Is this
throughout
the King's,
for the last
King's
year,
College guy?
yeah, for the King's College guy,
Funded
he said-
by Qatar. He used
Yeah,
to work at
exactly.
Qatar,
Throughout
yeah.
this conflict, ever since October the 7th, Israel has crossed the red line time and time again, whereas Hamas, Hezbollah and Iran have played by the rule books.
But he also
and
said they
have
were
played it
rational.
cautiously.
They were rational actors.
This is on the same day. And what emerges today, Michelle Hussein, the star presenter of the BBC's flagship Today programme, has been censured for not challenging an Iranian guy who went onto the BBC and said that Israel was causing a Holocaust in Gaza, and that it was a supremacist state.
Can I ask you, Mike?
She didn't even challenge it.
I like to play with some of my guests who are very pro-Palestinian. I always like to play sort of Palestine bingo.
Yeah.
You go, massacre, genocide. I mean, no, these aren't laughing matters, obviously, but like, you know, apartheid state. And you say, like, they've got all of these little phrases. They do, none of which, by the way, are factually correct.
No,
It's
because in
interesting.
the end, there's always footage, if you want to look for it, of other parts of Gaza where people live quite normally, where the food is plentiful, and of course there's lots of parts of Gaza which are dreadful.
Well, there's a famine. Hold on a minute. About 6 months
There's a
ago, we were
famine.
told everyone was going to die in a famine.
There's a warning that everyone's going to die in a famine about every 6 weeks, and it never happened.
I think
you
the
can't,
interesting thing is Israel. I mean, last night, literally within 20 minutes, I'm going to have a go at Labour again. Joe Biden, who doesn't know what his name is, came out and said we are going to defend Israel, defending themselves. It was an hour and a half before Starmer and Lammy, Jesus, the foreign secretary.
We're going to come
when it
on to
happened
that.
yesterday, I was like, what?
Yeah.
The man who
We're going to come on to that. But it was like when they killed Nasrallah,
extraordinary.
the head of Hezbollah, the man who has been responsible for more death and destruction.
I was
than
delighted.
almost anyone,
I mean, let's
right?
have a glass to celebrate.
Absolutely right.
There
It
you
took
go.
Kamala Harris.
Celebrate.
There we
Well
are.
done.
Cheers.
Can we still
He's
cheers?
dead.
A
Yes.
toast to head of Hezbollah being
And the
dead.
other six. And the other
Well
six.
done. Yes.
done.
What are we going to do about
No, but it took Kamala Harris hours before she came out and said that it was a good thing that he was dead.
Oh,
Because she
how will this
suffers-
go with my supporters?
Well, you know,
By
I'm
the
not
way,
sure.
but talking of apologists for Iran and the terrorist groups, did you see that Antonio Guterres, the General Secretary of the United Nations, has today been banned from entering Israel because his response to that appalling barrage of missiles that Iran sent, this is what he said. He said, I won't get the words exactly right, but it was along the lines of, I condemn the escalation of the conflict in the Middle East as I condemn every escalation.
Yeah.
No condemnation of Iran, and Israel have gone ballistic, if I can use that
he
term,
is totally-
and just said he's not coming
He
into
is
this
totally in the pocket
Yeah.
of frankly, of Islamist extremists now.
Yeah.
Not just
Yeah.
at the Arab world.
Right.
but
He's
you've
a
got to-
disgrace.
The influence of the Arab world on what happens at the UN right now. And we thought Russia and China were bad. But in terms of, like, again, you know, and China and Russia love all this because anything that basically criticises the West,
Yeah.
the West
Yeah,
enemies.
yeah.
But this thing, your enemy's enemy is your friend. But you know what?
There is the axis that the whole world should be frightened of, Russia
but I mean-
and China and Iran. I don't even understand. I hear about all these people who stick up for Iran and stick up for these terrorist groups. I don't even believe they know what they're talking about. They wear their T-shirts, they go on these marches. I was told a long time
literally
ago by a
don't.
Jewish friend of mine that when you are born into a Jewish family, at 12 or 13, maybe younger, we tell our kids about the facts of life. They're sat down and they're told, because it's part of their DNA, and I did this the other day on the road, listen, you know what? 70 years ago, 6 million of us got gassed to death simply because we were Jewish. No wonder they defend themselves. No wonder they stick up for themselves.
No wonder they needed a state of their own to be safe in.
But do you know what's
Absolutely
actually,
right.
what's actually
Spot on.
happened, though, is Benjamin Netanyahu has strengthened his position because now he's basically, I put a tweet out this week saying he's actually now the world's policeman. He's doing all the dirty work for the Western world.
And the
he's
US.
taking on Iran.
Yeah,
And he's
quite
now more
pleased about
popular
all of
inside
it as
Israel.
well.
Now, listen, this is very exciting because we're going to go to a break. There is more to come. I'm going to be very quiet in the next
That'll be
section
the day.
because
Yeah, right?
That'll be
Stay
the day.
tuned because they're going to discuss Phillip Schofield's failed attempt at redemption. I swear to God I won't be able to keep quiet. And Keir's Brexit reset. We're coming back in 3. Welcome back, Clash of the Titans, Saturday night. It's great to be here, isn't it, Julia Hartley-Brewer?
It's got my wine.
Come on, she's got a wine. She's got a. She's
Got my
relaxing.
buddies.
Kev O'Sullivan, who said to me last week, I didn't feel like I spoke enough. He's just talked non-stop. Mike said very little. Obviously, the next part is.
I haven't been able to.
It's difficult for me. The next part. So over to you, Kev.
Yeah, this is a story of a TV star who everybody loved, and then he suddenly fell from grace, and everybody hated him. And I don't know who I can talk to about this, but I wonder how difficult it is to get yourself back onto that platform. What do you reckon, Jeremy? Anyway, let's talk about Phillip Schofield. So he's been out of the limelight for 16 months, quite rightly, and now he's gone for redemption. Desert Island. You should have tried that one, Jess. He's gone to a desert island.
Still try it now.
I did. I came to talk.
yeah.
I found you three. I had a good sit on an island.
Yeah,
I'm happiest I've ever
You
been
should go
to
to
this place.
desert island, no cameras.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he goes to...
For a man who'd never be invited.
He goes to this island
Is there much more of this?
for
bloke?
Channel 5.
we know the story.
Yeah, but here's the point. Well, here's the point. The point is, instead of saying sorry, he's basically revealed what kind of a person he is. It's always poor me, poor me, poor me, pity me.
Yes.
And then he says, you know, I know what I did was wrong, it was unwise but not illegal, but is that worth destroying a man for? Here's the answer, Phil.
Yeah.
Yes!
But here's the thing. If he was going to do a TV show, he should have completely forgotten about the past and not mentioned it and not gone on and on
The whole
about
thing
how
about
terrible it was.
I've only managed to watch one episode.
I haven't
because
even
I
managed
frankly
that.
lost the will.
Yeah.
I actually was rather sympathetic to Phillip Schofield on this. Now, not because I thought the relationship was inappropriate, but he hadn't done anything that was criminal. We're not in those territory. But also because there was a sudden, everyone's just going for it. I used to go on This Morning a couple of times a week for a few years.
Did, yeah.
Always had a very nice time. I have to say, I didn't pick up, actually, that there was a bad atmosphere there. They were certainly hiding it from the guests. I always enjoyed working with him. So I genuinely have an urge to defend people when everyone just goes for them and there's this call for everyone to be cancelled if they do anything wrong. Yeah. I don't like it. I want to know the facts. I want to know the situation. So there was an investigation. It was quite clear it was an inappropriate relationship, quite clear that senior ITV bosses had also been implicated in people knew and people didn't.
Yeah, of course they did. But also they denied it for ages, didn't they?
Exactly. But the key thing here is I don't know why he thought that he could come back so quickly, why he could say, well, I was forced out, I was sacked and I pretended to resign. Blame Holly, blame everybody else, blame his brother. By the way, dragging his brother's family into this, I don't think that's very much help to them either. But it was just poor me, poor me, poor me, poor me. The first episode is literally him just going, poor me, poor me. I do not detect any note of contrition, any notion that he has done his time.
Philip, get the message right. You can't excuse... Listen, whether the relationship was inappropriate, whether he shouldn't have used his position... The fact is, I haven't heard an awful lot of people screaming from the rooftops defending this man.
And when you said
with respect, when you said what you said, there are millions of people who might disagree with you. But to me, you've misread the room again.
Totally,
you completely disillusional idiot. The fact is, it's too soon. You ain't got an audience. And at the end of the day, take that and deal with it, for Christ's sake.
Also, look, there is an issue, and you've experienced this as well. And this, again, this 100% cancellation, you can be the darling of the country, and then the next day, you're cancelled. You must never show your face in public again. We have got to stop doing that.
Final section, we've moved on from Schofield. I'm loving you tonight. From Schofield, what do you want to bring to the party,
I'd like
MG?
to talk about Sir Keir Starmer.
Why?
2-tier, free gear. I'm not going to say anything else that rhymes with that, obviously. But, you know, there's lots of stories. There's so many words
that end
in ear that I'm not going to say. But
creates a peer?
We started this week, as we do with every week now, thinking... Surely there can't be any more to come out. No. Surely not. Surely we've seen all the stories we're ever going to see. And then suddenly at the weekend, £16,000 worth of clothes were admitted. Another 16,000 on top of the first 16,000.
How big is his wardrobe?
I don't believe he's spending the money on clothes. I don't know what he's spending it on, and I wouldn't want to cast any aspersions on him. But how can he spend 32,000?
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know.
It's not rent, is it?
I mean, 32,000. No, he's not paying any rent.
Runs a clothes company. He's given them to him.
Well, yeah, but the point is this: he's taking all of these clothes. Supposedly, he didn't. People keep saying, "Oh, yeah," but the reason we know about this is because he's registered it. Except no, he hasn't. He registered it as an office cost, right?
Maybe he's got extra costs that we don't know about.
Doesn't let you
maybe. Can I just say, maybe he's got extra costs that the public we don't know about.
Maybe so. Then we learn that the Labour Party in total has taken £1 million from the gambling business, right? He took a £25,000 gift from the head of Bet365. I mean, what's he doing with all the money?
I would say one thing that we were talking about this week on the show. What's extraordinarily bad, I think, about the Labour government, the Labour Party, is this pretension that they still have that the party of the working classes, that they seem to think that because they are working class,
they keep
their
saying
noses in the trough are more exposed. They are as bad as the last lot, and I am amazed at how just blind to the reaction. The optics are awful.
Yeah, but he's a liar. He's a liar.
He is a liar.
He had to be forced. He was told a couple of weeks ago, "Hey, listen, you haven't mentioned the $5,000 that your wife Victoria Spunger. She took $5,000 worth of clothes. He had to declare that very late. And what happened this week, as you say, Mike? Suddenly, there's 16 grand's worth of extra clothes I didn't declare. I actually wrote it down as office expenses. My oversight. This is organised lying.
It is
What I don't understand is
like.
if you're a police officer, you're not allowed to take gifts of any sort. If you are, I mean, let's just pluck a job out of thin air. The Director of Public Prosecutions, for instance, someone who helps to enforce the law, you're not allowed to take any donations.
Unless you're a paedophile.
But if you are somebody who is, actually making the law, the Prime Minister, you think you are. And this argument, we declared it all, and this is what everyone.
Yeah.
We've literally had, cabinet members saying, but everyone does this.
Right.
Well, you know what? Remember back in 2009 when we had the expenses scandal? Yeah, this is what everyone is doing. It didn't fly then. It's not going to fly now, and especially with people when the sorts of money we're talking about is the sort of money that that's what people's mortgages are.
Yeah.
Right.
It's someone's entire annual expenses.
There's another thing. He's paid off his mortgage. Now, I know people are entitled to do that, but it's a bit of a coincidence that he only just recently managed to do that. And also, this is a guy who has gone through his entire career, supposedly, as being Mr. Holier-than-thou.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Butter wouldn't melt in his mouth.
Gone within a year.
He hasn't got any...
within a year.
Any sort of secrets.
I don't understand this idea that the Labour will be out of power early, or that he'd be gone with, he would be gone within a year.
He will definitely be gone within a year.
I don't see that. Who's going to replace him?
Well,
there is no mechanism for getting rid of him. Legally speaking, he has not committed a crime.
Well, you don't know that.
Well, certainly on what we know right now, he has not done anything that's against the rules.
I'm suggesting... Hang on. I'm suggesting that what we know is what he chooses to tell us.
Exactly right.
Now, that is not the way to run a government. We elect this guy. He is responsible to us for the money that he makes.
But are we missing the point that our job...
The biggest issue for me is that we need to get big money and donations from multi-billionaires and multi-billionaires and corporations out of our politics. It is what has completely destroyed American politics. If they are getting money, whether it's 10 grand or 10 million from a businessman, they are listening to them and not listening to an ordinary voter who doesn't.
But they are. And also, what do you think the betting companies are getting out of it?
Yeah,
so this is the point. But everything that he has done has been hidden behind a curtain. Everything that he has done has been a sort of untruth of one kind or another. So I think there's going to be a lot more that's going to come out.
I would say, can I just say this?
You can't. I'm going to say it. Here's how he draws the line under it, right? There's only one way to draw a line under this, and he has to say no more freebies, no more donations. We're stopping. It's not good enough to say close.
What I was going to say was, I disagree with you in the smallest way when you said there's no mechanism. Going back to the beginning of this show, Boris Johnson, quite rightly, was removed by power because of the strength of the British media and all the BS.
The Tories and the Labour Party have different systems for
removing
I'm
with Mike, if the media and the stuff keeps coming and coming and coming and coming, and the approval rating drops and the polls are bad, there will be a mechanism.
And we haven't even mentioned...
I don't see him making 5 years.
We haven't mentioned the elephant in the room yet, which is, of course, Sue Gray, who's still hanging in there.
She's gone.
She is already taking prisoners. She's already making her position felt, and she's obviously a very powerful woman. But that can't last. There's obviously lots of tension behind the scenes. And we haven't even mentioned Rosie Duffield yet, who said not only is Keir Starmer a liar, a hypocrite and greedy, he also has a problem with women. I don't know what that's all about. She says there's a culture of
he doesn't know what a
badism.
woman is. We keep having this conversation.
Julia,
we're back there, week 3, and Julie's going to tell you all, ladies and gentlemen. What is it?
But how does Keir Starmer draw a line?
I got a wrap, 30 seconds.
Because it's gone past the Alistair Campbell 11-day.
You're in the news.
It's on the front page daily.
Every day.
How does he draw a line?
I think this is absolutely buried. Keir Starmer's ratings are now below where Rishi Sunak was when he lost the election.
And you say they wouldn't come up with a system to get rid of rid of him.
I'm saying the system is the system.
Right, that's it. We're out of time. Thank you so much indeed. Another one in the can. We could sit here for another hour.
We could.
We're on the radio all week. Mike Graham's Morning Glory. He's up and at it at 6:30. You know what I mean? The Queen of Mean. She's on at 10. She's fantastic. He's got a political asylum. He's in an asylum anyway, and I'm on at 4 sometimes. Have a great week. Talk is on YouTube. We're going home because we live there. Ta-ra.